Whether you're launching a podcast, a business, or even both at the same time, nobody tells you this. They do not tell you how it's going to make money. And in this episode, I sit down with Mat Passy from Sweet Recordings, and he asks me exactly how we turn podcasts into actual revenue for your business. So whether you're on the podcasting side trying to make it a business, or you're on the business side trying to make a podcast, this is exactly what you need to know before you get started or while you're going, so you can make sure that you're not leaving money on the table. Now, the question that everybody asks is, do I do short form? Do I do long form? Or both? And in this case, I'll have Matt ask that question so I can give you the answer.
So right before we started recording, we were talking about, long form versus short form. So a business comes to you. What's the argument for really focusing on one of those pieces of content versus the other? Like, what are the benefits to doing short form versus what are the big benefits of having long form content as your main strategy?
Yeah. So the first thing with any type of content is, what do you want to make, right? Long form versus short form isn't a conversation until you decide that you want to create content. And then you go and do it and test it. Meaning, there's a world where you just create a bunch of 1-minute videos, right? That's fine. You're going to have shorts, reels that are going to do well, right? As long as the strategy is correct. Then there's a world where you do like what we're doing right now, where we could do 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, but we don't have to sit and look at the camera, right? And that can be done maybe once a month or twice a month, or if you're really crazy, 4 times a month. So that's where I start. What lifestyle do you want to have when it comes to creating content? Do I want to create a bunch of short stuff or a few long forms? Once you decide that, by probably just testing it out, creating a fake podcast that doesn't exist, going to a studio like this, sitting down, trying it, then you get your answer. Now you come to somebody like us or an expert with the answer of, I tested it, I tried it, I want to do this. Now how do we do it? Then we figure out what's our YouTube strategy, what's our short strategy, right? What's our podcast strategy? Because I think the way that business owners look at it is, what should I make? But the way that we look at it is, what do you want to make? That's the only thing that matters. Because how many people do you know who have done 8 episodes, 10 episodes and stopped, right? I mean, probably over 100.
Yeah.
Me too. I don't want that to happen anymore. So me and you both, we could probably get people to start a podcast. I mean, I've done it many times, right? It's very exciting. But I would rather not do that. And I would rather just tell you that, like, you're probably not going to be able to do it at 52 episodes a year. So let's start where we can start. So that's how I start that conversation. It has nothing to do with the strategy at all.
Interesting. But so then, all right, so somebody comes in, they do start recording. Maybe they sit down, they record an hour a month.
Perfect.
How do you, when you look at that content, how do you decide, the efficacy of putting out 10 short clips from that hour or the whole hour as one long clip, or both? But right, like, kind of you were saying before, like, if you really want to funnel, it's got to be long form. If you're looking for awareness, it's more short form. It's like, is that it? Is there more to it?
Yeah, so there is more to it. So the podcast YouTube video content, 3 things, are all 100% informed by your marketing strategy that you currently have. If you create a YouTube channel that is not connected with your downloadable resources, or not connected with your sales process, or not connected with your brand strategy, right? Even if you don't have one, you still have one. It's just not on paper. If they're not connected, then it'll never work, because they can work in silos. But what's the point of that? What's the point of getting 100,000 views if it didn't bring any clients? Well, maybe you're doing it for awareness. I don't know. But my thing is, have a really like a marketing strategy. And in the marketing strategy, it says we need to create this many podcasts a month. We create this many podcasts because in the podcast, we advertise this thing that's this free downloadable guide. Our goal is to get 1 download a day okay, now since we have one download a day, we have 360 new-ish subscribers a year. From those 360, we, in a given year, pull 40 onto webinar. From the webinar, we bring 8 to a call. From 8 to a call, we close 4, and boom, now this all makes sense, right? But if you never do those marketing steps, then you're just creating to create, and that's why you stop after 8 episodes.
It's so interesting that you start with 360, and at the end you're down to 4.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, for people to buy, yeah, of course. I mean, for example, I can give you a good example. I mean, last year, I probably added. It wasn't one a day yet. It was probably maybe one every few days. I sold one person. My email list created a client last year. But the year before that created 0. But that's how it works. This year, it'll probably create 3 or maybe 5. Right? But I'm ROI positive.
So that's the interesting part, right? Is that, we want to sell a similar service, right?
Yep.
Business marketing services, right? It doesn't always have to be a podcast. It doesn't always have to be an organized 1 hour long YouTube channel. For a lot of, and in particular, smaller businesses, right? Not like professional services where it's a bigger ticket, right? Retainer of sorts, right? You get that client, your investment is covered. But, maybe you're a retail store looking to pick up more clients. But they expect that, if I put out a reel, I should see 10 new clients. And that's just not going to be the case right away.
Never.
Or maybe ever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for product companies, sure. Product companies rely on that. It works really well. Right? But that's more like B2C and ads. But like, I actually don't really think podcasting is marketing. I think it's really branding. I don't think that it doesn't, to your point, it doesn't work like an ad, right? An ad is marketing, right? And now organic content, it's marketing if you use it to create clients, right? Like I use it to create clients. I don't really, other than the email list strategy, I don't really use my podcast to create clients. It's more branding. It's more how I think and how I feel and what I know, right? And that's more like, and the personality of the company, that's more branding. So that's something I've really switched on because to your point, like we all call this marketing. I called it marketing for years and years and years. Then I had clients who weren't necessarily getting clients from their content, but they kept doing it and they loved it. They actually really enjoyed doing it. And yeah, we could see views, right? Or we could see likes or comments, but it doesn't have to be marketing. It can also just be content, and that will indirectly help your marketing.
A lot of people would call that brand building, or another way they say is thought leadership, right? Putting yourself out there elevates your personal brand, elevates your personal expertise, elevates your authority so that when somebody is choosing between this person and you, they could say, well, because of this content, I understand how this person thinks. I might even feel like I know this person because I've been consuming their content for so long.
Yes, that's part of it. You have a lot of competition. And if you're the days of we're the, accountant in this town, that's how it used to be. It doesn't happen anymore, because everybody online can take your local clients from you, right? So, and with that being the reality, that's why now there's 17 local accountants. Or for example, I have I do a couple podcasts in a building in Marlton. There's 8 financial advisors in one building. Guess what they all say? We care about our clients. We're a fiduciary. Right? So, but how does a prospect, how are they going to look at that? Well, if one of them has a 45-minute video and the other one doesn't, well, the prospect that would watch a 45-minute video now has the ability to do that. So, what if that prospect never told you that they watched it, but it still helped? So, but that's how I look at it, is like, if you can do a podcast, you are a successful company, because it takes a lot of time and money and effort to do it. That actually shows prospects that you are successful.
I love that.
Yep.
That goes right back to when I used to be pitching podcast services to similar audience. I would say podcast is like the, marble lobby of your building.
Yep.
The lobby cannot go out into the street and pull clients in. It cannot advertise, right? It lives there, and that it cannot move. But a client who comes into your building and sees that, they see the stature, they see the dedication, they see the thoughtfulness, they see the design, they see the elegance, the luxury, and it changes their confidence in you and your abilities.
Yes. But if you have no microphones and it's, shot with a camera from 12 years ago, then it does the opposite.
Right. It's like the lobby that doesn't get cleaned. Right.
Yes.
I see all the cobwebs in the corner. So they don't really, they can't even take care of this room. How are they going to take care of me?
Yeah. Exactly.
So in today's world now, with AI content being dumped on us in troves, why do you think it's important for business owners and brands to be creating real video content where I can see and know that I'm looking at a real person?
It's pretty simple why you would make content with you yourself in it versus have AI do it for you, is because they're not buying from the AI. They're buying from you. So whoever is shaking the hand with the client should be in the content, right? Because that creates that's brand. Brand is creating an experience from the start to the finish. It doesn't have to be a good or bad experience. It's just consistent, right? I go to McDonald's, I get the same damn thing every single time, every single McDonald's. Doesn't matter if I'm in Japan or America. It's not good, but it's consistent. So it doesn't even have to be good or bad. That's why your content doesn't even have to get any views. But they see somebody, that person in that video, they hear them talk for 25 minutes, and then they go on a conversation for 25 minutes. All we want is that experience to be one-to-one. And if you have AI slop and then you're on the call with them, okay, but you're starting from zero. You're starting the first impression right there instead of starting the first impression on the Instagram reel or the LinkedIn video or whatever.
Well, and in some cases, you're pulling up from a deficit. You're not even starting at zero.
Oh, yeah,
because your AI slop might have...
Well, yeah, and is your AI slop going to even get them onto a call? Like, I use AI for certain things. Like, we have a, editor of the month, right? Yeah, unless my graphic designer is the editor of the month, I'm going to just have AI create the image for that. But it's like, why? It's okay. That's okay, because it's the editor of the month. I'm not going to get a client from posting, here's the editor of the month. And, congrats to them. But there's times where it makes sense. If AI writes the post better than me, cool, we'll use it. 99.9% of the time it doesn't, so we'll just use what I wrote, right? I just look at it as just is it better? In some cases, YouTube thumbnails, for example, it's better. I didn't have to pay a designer to do it. It looks exactly like if they did it. And the client loves it. Perfect, great. AI won. AI, it's just did it win or did it lose in these very specific circumstances? But if you just go, we'll just use it for everything. I don't know any companies who do that. I don't personally. I don't work with any companies who use AI or AI slop for their marketing. Just because they will never hire us, they'll never be able to afford to hire us if that's their starting point.
Yeah, it is cheap, but right, it doesn't mean that it's quality.
Yeah, some of it can be good. I'm not against all of it. It's just very situational.
And it can be good, especially if you've taught it how you want to sound.
Yes.
Right? If you've really, we have a client right now who talks a lot about AI, and the crux of a lot of his points are AI is fantastic at synthesizing data. And so if you have the right data, if you have well-organized, well-established, well-readable data, the AI can can go through all of that data that might take you weeks and months in a couple of minutes or hours, and then present you with the information that you need to make a better decision. But right, you can't just say to the AI, run my business.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Efficiency, right? I mean, so there's a world where we have 2 graphic designers and they use Photoshop and everything's done manually. And then there's a world where I have a virtual assistant who I teach how to prompt ChatGPT or Claude to make the thumbnails. At the end of the year, if I go, well, I paid these guys $35,000 and I paid this assistant $10,000, and the thumbnails are exactly the same, sorry guys, you're out of job. Like, that's how AI works. It's if it's the same or better and cheaper, then people will use it. But it can't be worse and cheaper than well, okay, then we're not going to use it. Then I'm spending the $35,000.
Right, because you have to.
Yes. So that's at least how it's working. Like with clips, right? It's not gonna. It can choose the clip. If you're a celebrity, yes, it will. The clip will get views no matter the moment. We don't work with celebrities, so we have to choose the clips, and the way we choose the moment in the clip determines how well the clip does. There's certain things you can do: cut it shorter, play it faster, have a better hook, blah 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 blah. But for the most part, if you're talking about boring shit, which is like finance, accounting, law, mostly just topics that people don't at the end of the day go and watch, hours on. That part is going to be human focused, the clip selection part. Now, could I train a prompt to do it? Yeah, but it's EQ, not IQ. That's how you choose a clip based on psychology, right? Not based on logic. So AI is not going to choose it, but AI is going to just do the captions for me on the one that I chose. Okay, great. We're good. So that's like really what most businesses who are smart are doing, is they're just finding the ways to use it where it saves me from writing those captions. It saves me from having 2 designers. Now I can have 1 VA instead. I still have a human, just a different human.
Right. It creates efficiencies, right? Where can I do the same job faster, cheaper, but same value?
Yeah. The quality can't go down.
Yeah. So a question we always ask everybody is like, is there a common question that you get from clients that either like you're just tired of answering, or you feel like you have to answer every single time you talk to a client?
I mean, it's changed over the years. It was how to become the next Joe Rogan. How do we do that? That hasn't happened in a long time, thankfully. But
is it because they don't use Joe Rogan, or they're not
it's
asking that type of
because
question?
I don't take those calls.
Okay.
If you do not have a LLC, like I'm not, like if you don't have a business, I'm not taking the call.
Well, I've had lots of business owners who still think they want to be the next
I guess
Joe
you're right.
Rogan, or they want to be the next, this
Yes.
successful finance buyer. How do I be the next, Diary of a CEO?
Yeah, but I think, no, for sure. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It definitely happens. But I mean, I think now, I think what I get the most is ROI still. I still think that I think the question that I get the most is, how does it all work, right? It's like, how does this all make sense together? And normally that comes from people who are not confident in it, right? Because if you come to either of us and you want to start doing podcast video content and you don't know why you're doing it, we can't really answer that, right? So that's the big one for me, is like, there is not going to be any ROI. Don't do this if you need ROI. Like, again, it is the marble floor, right? It is the dessert. It's not the main course. The main course is whatever your main marketing channel is, right? So that's how I like to approach it. But if they ask, right, which happens all the time, what is the ROI, right? Then I ask, because this is their business, not mine. I say, well, how do you track your ROI? And then they'll be like, well, I don't know. And I'll be like, yeah, that's the better question, right?
You've got 3 other calls you have to make before you talk to me.
Yeah, exactly. You got to go to the CFO. Now you got to go, yeah. But like, that's the thing. Like, the best thing you could do is have a marketing budget and then just fill that in with things that you think make sense. And then at the end of the year, see if marketing, it's very simple. ROI for marketing is really simple. Revenue to marketing spend. There's no other, you don't need any other stats.
Cool. How do people get in touch with you?
You can send me a letter in the mail. I prefer don't text me. I never answer. No. So LinkedIn, Ryan R. Sullivan. If you use the R, you'll find me. If you don't use the R, you'll find a professional soccer player. You'll find a doctor. All these people who I want to eliminate them from the earth. But they're cool. There's a lot of cool Ryan Sullivans. Ryan R. Sullivan. Podcast Principles is the company. You can look that up. But in terms of like, hey, I want to like maybe I want to learn more about how do I make a podcast? How does this podcast fit into my marketing? I have examples of $1 million, 7-figure podcasts we made, crazy, hundreds of thousands of downloads, millions of views, all that stuff. Whatever it is you want, we've probably made a video about how to do it. So that's Ryan Sullivan Show, or just Ryan R. Sullivan on YouTube. And you can get all that there.
All right. Very good. Ryan, thanks for being in here.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, buddy.